Hey folks, welcome to the last session of the day. My name is Brendan Kennedy. I'm with Over It. We're a marketing company. We are sponsoring this room today and tomorrow. Thank you all for attending. It's been a fun day with a lot of beer everywhere, which is awesome. So we are a marketing company based in Albany. We have national clients. We do all sorts of digital marketing, branding, advertising, video production, websites, research. But we worked with a lot of breweries over the years. We're really good at telling the stories that resonate with your customers, your vendors, with everyone to really sort of create a presence that resonates with the audiences you're trying to reach. So you are not here to listen to me, so I'm going to leave you now. But we have brochures up here. We have a booth up there tomorrow if you're around. And overit.com is, and also there's banners there. But on to Pearson and Kristen. Yeah, cheers.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much. I actually have my refer to my notes so I make sure I don't skip over anything that I feel is important. You might find boring, but nevertheless, it's the afternoon. Does everyone have a beer at least? Okay. I'm gonna have beer too. I'm gonna drink lager from Common Roots. I've had it before. All right. Ooh. So, you don't mind if I don't use the microphone? Everyone can hear me okay, well enough?
Gotcha, sure.
Okay, cool. So, if you don't know me, I worked for Brown's Brewing Company for almost 10 years. I was director of marketing and sales, and we were heavily distributed through 5 states. I have since moved to 1911 established, and we're a nationwide hard cider producer, distilled spirits, and we do a lot of cannabis. Heirloom is that brand, so I'm very, very lucky to be able to talk about something I feel is really important for marketing, but is more often the last thing you think about. And a lot of you who have started breweries and open your breweries and make really deliberate decisions of how you want your company, your brand, your products to reach your audience, that core audience. This is sort of, at times, I think, somewhat the last thing to think about. And it's your brand is so heavily embedded in the people you hire to work for you. May I show of hands, how many people do trivia at your brewery? No shit. Bocce ball? Anybody do bocce? Anyone? Nice, nice, cool. So one. Food trucks? Anybody do food truck? You have your own restaurant operations, the rest of you all assume then? How about karaoke? Anyone do that? Do live music then? Okay, great. Actually went to the Lunkenheimer Brewery a few weeks ago, and they had live music. The place was so packed, I actually left. But I know them well enough to say that publicly. But the beer is fantastic, so I left with beer. Okay, cool. So those things work. Those things keep people in your space. Well, what I want to talk about is developing a regular. How many people have regulars that you know by name? Okay, but not everybody. And how big is that regular following? Not much, right? You know, 1 or 2. How awesome would it be if, like, somebody was walking in your doors and everybody knew their name, like Norm from Cheers? Right? It'd be great, right? And I think a big part of why that is successful and that's real is because it's that extra element. It's the folks who are working in your space. I worked at Red Bull and resigned on purpose. I had the luxury of resigning from Red Bull. I was still young enough and I was just going to go to 10 bar at another bar. And a guy I had met just had this Irish bar and had sort of worked on me a little bit to be a part of his staff. So you know, every day I'd get to work like 3:30, 4 to 4. Probably had a glass of gin, maybe a beer, and there was a guy who would come in and be like, as soon as we unlocked the door. I don't know if he was cashing a pension check or whatever. He had retired from Con Edison. This bar was like near Yonkers area, playing out like a little bit more Westchester, but it was cool. again, the guy who owned it, we didn't do anything particularly interesting. There wasn't much unique about this place. Sir Jameson, Budweiser, Bud Light. At the time, this was like before craft beer was cool, so probably the most crafty thing was Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, maybe. Definitely Brooklyn Lager was there, but maybe Sierra Nevada. This guy didn't care about that. He just wanted somebody to talk to. Or not, I don't know. He would talk a lot, right? There were 3 of us bartenders total on staff, and we would kind of cover the floor as well. Do shows every week on Tuesday nights, like Roots music, which is really hard to sell tickets to someone. If I mentioned Chris Miller, would anybody know who Chris Miller is? He just sold out Cafe Lena last weekend, but 25 years ago, you know, nobody knows him. But you probably heard one of the songs he wrote. He wrote Bonnie Raitt hit. I'm even going to space on it too, which is ideal. Man Loves a Woman or something like, no, not that one, but regardless. Chris Miller wrote a couple of hit tunes and then made a career playing small 60-seat venues, right? So Roots music was the draw for this place. But again, it wasn't that unique day in, day out. We would do one show a week, and that was Tuesday nights. But it was the 3 of us kind of running this place. And we were all sort of the same personality, right? So people would come in to kind of be with us as well. The food was pretty routine. Again, drinks weren't anything special. Totally nothing unique about what we were doing. Except for the personality of the place. And we were in line. We knew what we were doing. We were about focusing on you, the customer coming in the door, and having your post-work moment and being together with you. We were also heavily trained by this owner. We knew how to greet people, how to be with people, how to listen to them, how to stay focused on them and not lose attention. I could probably have a conversation with folks now, and I'm noticing this as I get older, that I start to see that they've noticed that I have lost my full attention. Do you know what I'm talking about? It happens, right? It's fucked up, but it does happen. But for that time when I'm clocked in, I'm able to kind of shut that part off, right? And I'm staying completely focused on the task at hand, which can include 100 things. Not just tending the bar, or pouring a beer, making a drink, getting food, answering the phone, right? And listening to every one of the conversations that are going on and being able to weigh in. So, just want to make sure I'm not going over time by rambling a bit. I'm here today mostly to suggest one aspect of customer service, and that is empathy. A radical sense of empathy to the people that are choosing to come to your place over going to a similar place with similar things, trivia, bocce ball, cornhole, live music, karaoke, down the block. And maybe you might even make some of the same styles of beers, while yours may be different, and perhaps even better, you might think. They are available there as well, right? When we meet people where they are, and we are able to focus on them, give them the attention, and care about them, they tend to come back, right? Because they'll remember the person they interacted with in your space. So yes, of course, it's about the maniacal focus you put on your product, the food you've also paired that with, the space, the lighting, the chairs, the menu, the music you play. It's about all of those things. It's also about how they can cash out, right? Anyone do cash only, by the way? Silence. Wouldn't it be nice if you could, right?
Not anymore.
Right? Yeah. So, just gonna scroll through. If anyone has a question, feel free to interrupt at any point. Empathy, I think, is really important, but I also want to stress that I think your first customer are the folks you hire. You need to sell your story, your brand, the reason you are you, to them. How big is, anyone want to share how big their staff is? Oh,
20,
you got
25 people.
you got 25 people.
But some of them would work all day.
I would like
Same,
them.
right? Same.
They show up.
25 people 1 day a week. Hey, man, how are you? I feel like you've heard this before. That's good to see.
Refreshing.
How many people work in your tap room?
Currently, I'm in 3.
Okay.
I had 32 years.
Seven. All of which are family? This doesn't apply to you. Probably all of mine. Was it your idea or was it someone else's?
No, that was pitched in
That's awesome. Where's your tap room?
Bayshore, New York.
Bayshore, Long Island?
Yeah.
Fires recently?
No, that was way out. West Hampton, pretty close.
All right. So when I say your people are your brand, the people you hire, whether it's 25, 3, 7 family members, they're the ones that are going to sell what you do to the public. You can't be everywhere all the time, right? And from direct to consumer all the way through to the seller to the packaging line, if you're doing that, if you are anyone in distribution, anyone selling cross state lines, great, congratulations. Be happy to talk about that after. I'm really going to kind of focus on the tap room. But salespeople, brand ambassadors, people calling on chains, people doing activations, they really, this almost applies more to those folks and those efforts than just the direct tap room, because they have to be the entire company in front of strangers, so they can draw people back to the house, right? It's all about drawing people back to the house, at least from my perspective, because that's what the story is. You need to tell the story. You need to emphasize your story each and every time someone walks in your door, right? So hiring well, onboard exceptionally, and work collaboratively with your people. I have some terrible hiring stories from anyone else have some terrible hires in their history?
Oh, yeah.
Really bad hires, right? Why do you think it was a really bad hire? Do you want to share? You're nodding your head in the back.
It was an HR nightmare that we had hired a couple that ended up not being a couple, and it went really south really quickly.
Did you know going in there were a couple?
Yes.
Holy shit, and you hired them anyway.
One was helping in production, one was more tap room, so they were never working alongside each other. So we thought that would be okay.
Did you interview them at the same time?
Yep.
Was it like you hired one, they're like, oh, this is my partner, it's cool,
Yeah.
I can do this?
We were looking for a bartender who's
Okay,
like,
that-
over the job.
Then it's no fault to you. But they both left at the same time?
Yeah, we kind of politely pushed them out.
I'm really sorry that happened to you. Do you have an HR portion to your company, or is it?
No, it's only owners. There's only 7 of us, 4 owners and 3 bartenders.
Yeah, so I've never fired anybody well. I don't think there's.
There is no good way.
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, I fucked it up so bad though. Like, they had the same like letters in their name as one of the owners, and I was letting them go, and I actually emailed them at the same time.
Oh.
So if something has gone bad, just know going in, I've probably been a part of it or known or did it myself. So yeah, that was a long night. Thinking about that, like trying to sleep. Oh fuck, I did that. I ended up finding that person a really cool job, and they make more money than I do. So all kinds has been gained. So hiring well, I've had some really weird interview processes. Anyone have a weird interview story? So I worked for Red Bull, and that interview was like an interrogation. It was over a period of days where I'd have to like show up at various places. when I worked for Browns, that was almost like a 10-hour interview on 3 occasions. And two included a real large consumption of alcohol. I can't believe I still got the gig. My current role, the interview scored less than an hour. There was like a 20-minute call with HR, and then that's not to tap me on the back. That's just the way that process went, and the questions were asked were really direct. And that was it. I've heard horror stories. When I got a job with Apple, it was like if I'm being honest, I just wanted a computer and I wanted a discount. So it was a room like this, but at a hotel in New Jersey, and I jumped on a chair in the back and shouted, and that's how I got the thing. It didn't work out. I went on tour because I was a musician at the time. I just really needed a fucking laptop. All right, so when onboarding is really important. Anyone have a personal good onboarding story and a bad one? Anyone want to share? I can tell you mine. Onboarding. Pretty much the most vital thing you could do. I have worked for companies where there has been baptism by fire, and here are the keys to the company. Go figure it out. We've never had your position. And I've seen some folks take that and run with the ball, and I've seen some completely napalm and explode and just turn into an utter disaster. So it's really important to focus on creating an in-depth, immersive onboarding program. Because again, these people are going to represent you. They're going to represent your liquid. They're going to represent all of the time you spend dreaming about dedicating your life to beer. It's telling your story. A lot of breweries in the world, some good, some hard triers, and some not so good. And someone's going to try and open something tomorrow. They're going to try and take your market share in your business, your people, your regulars. The difference could be having this level of empathy. We'll get on to working collaboratively together in a minute. Yeah, you're going to laugh at this guy, right? He's the most popular bartender in England. Doesn't even work for a brewery. He just has an incredible personality and a great story to tell. I thought this quote was pretty poignant. I actually live with a bunch of coworkers currently, and we do run into each other during the morning. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's also kind of awkward at the 8 a.m. meetings. You gotta have good people, but you can hire somebody and you can train them to be really good to understand your program and your work. Okay. Talked about interview. Does anyone do a working interview? You do a working interview.
I guess depends your definition. Like we do an interview and then we call their first shift, like them getting catered to the job. So they come in and find out, because we want to find out if it's a good fit for us, but they also need to know if it's a good fit for them. So we don't do all the onboarding paperwork and get them started after that first shift.
What's your onboarding like?
They're horrible. So I do one thing well and everything else, I feel.
Anyone else do a working interview? Paul, you do a working interview?
Yeah, but it's mostly for the kitchen, not the servers.
That makes
I
sense.
mean, you gotta put them in the kitchen, see if they wanna deal with all the crap. And it
How big is your, like, just spatially, how big is the kitchen?
About 1,500, 2,000 square feet.
So it's a big kitchen, people
Yeah.
run into each other and,
No, but it's not just that, it's just the chaos. I mean, you get up by us, which is tourism, you have 600 people sitting there trying to eat pizzas, it gets a little bit hectic.
that's a zero in circus.
It is.
Eat. Yeah. So working interview is important. It can't substitute for onboarding, but it definitely gives you a sense, what those folks are gonna be like in the heat of tour season, Paul mentioned Working interviews are really important because then you can assess who they are as people, and they can also then address your own core values and understand this is the company I'm joining, this is the firm I'm going to be a part of, and this is the story I'm going to tell. So back to the orientation part, that onboarding part. I want to emphasize a lack of an onboard creates an environment of negativity. It really bums people out. It lets them have this sense of isolation fester in their minds. It makes them really, really disappointed and frustrated and more than likely looking to go elsewhere within a really short period of time. I know that from experience, personally, and I know that from observing it. Really great onboarding creates culture. Expresses that culture to the people you've hired, who can then share your company culture. I'm sure you all have well-defined cultures in your company. It's an extension of your personality. It's an extension of why you wanted to create your life around a beer and making a beer. You guys do have core mission statements, right? For the most part, everyone does. Do your employees know that? Yours does. What is your brewery?
Nightglow in Bushwick.
Oh yeah?
Or coffee shop, Dayglow as well.
Really?
Yeah,
Which was first?
Dayglow.
No kidding. Name's familiar. Yeah, so good. That's good. That's good to hear. But hopefully you're not unique in that everyone knows what they're doing and why they're there and what they can bring to the table, and it's welcome, right? How often do you work each position with your employees? You do?
2 shifts.
Do you work with two shifts? What are the positions?
Bartender.
You're bartender?
Yeah.
So you work 2 shifts, so it's sort of like working with?
Yeah.
This is an opportunity, you do it too?
Yeah, bar manager,
Bar.
shifts, full-time bartender.
What's your brewery?
Old Clockwork Brewery?
Can you say it again? I'm sorry.
Old Clockwork Brewery.
Okay, cool.
That's,
I think I've had your beer. I didn't ask what was your brewery.
Dancing Grain Farm Brewery.
Oh, I've been there a whole bunch of times. Again, I don't know if you know this, but I'm a huge enthusiast. I love beer, and I love visiting. Yes. Yeah. I don't know what the quotes mean, but yeah. I'm a big fan of just this whole thing. So, but working with your people, letting them see you, right? Do the work, but it's not just about that. It's not just you showing them how to attach a hose or how to change a keg, clean a draft line, wash dishes, make a pizza. It's really about you showing them your personality. Again, you're not trying to make friends necessarily, but you want them to understand that you are a whole person, or your managers are a whole person, and showing that sense of humor. This is where that culture piece can really come into play, and you can kind of nurture a relationship that sure could blossom into a friendship later on, and create this environment of loyalty, right? We want loyal people working for us because turnover is rough, right? Turnover takes time. You have to go through this whole process again, time and time again. Except, put this time in now, do your working interviews, work with them. It doesn't have to be immediate when they're hired, but within a couple of weeks, be with them, spend time, put the time in. It's worth it because it'll pay you back, and you can develop that culture piece, and you can feel confident to maybe take a day off that they're gonna do a good job for you and make a good amount of money and develop that core following and that core audience. Plus, they get to know you. They get to be able to speak about your brand, about your products, about your company culture more so that when they're asked when they're outside of your company after they've clocked out and maybe are shopping but are still, have the clothes on, still have the brand on. Hats are amazing, right? They're the #1 branding billboard, period. But if they wear it, when people ask, oh, do you work there? They can answer the question. And they can pretend that they know the owner and it's awesome and they'll expect something for nothing. That happens all the time, right? So it's all about excellent customer service. It's all about that customer walking in the door. But again, if I can leave you with anything in this not so very long talk, the #1 customer is who we are. And having empathy for them will lead to them having a more radicalized sense of empathy for folks who are coming in. So they can spend more money in your place. Buy your products if you're in distribution, off the shelves. Share it with the people that they love, and grow from there. Anyone have anything you want to bring up, mention?
Okay.
I feel like I've gone pretty quick today. I can answer any questions if you have.
So do you think like what you're saying right now, like I think this is my brewery, what you're talking about. But the younger crowd, they don't want to talk to you. They don't really care to have that conversation. Like, I love building the culture, but most of our newer kids, they don't really want to hear about your culture. They'll learn about it. And I think that I'm very successful in what you're talking about. I'm scared about the future.
You should be scared about the future, because I just, in a meeting yesterday, we talked about the next age that is graduating from college is drinking 70% less, right? And how do we reach them? They do have a lot of discounts too. They will get there. Yeah, we can't wait for it. We can.
I can really, my customer,
Yellow label, I know.
they're not gonna be around that much longer. It's the older crowd, they want that attention. Like, so we give to them, but you can't give it to them all the time. So I'm trying to transition a little bit to, what you're talking about, to kind of get the Gen Zs and the Gen A's and the A's and correct. We'll skate around that.
So what do you do for experiential marketing?
So yeah, so Facebook and things like that, like when you get put out that way.
So marketing is an interesting thing, because I think it means a lot to a lot of people, right? You can have that sort of Facebook approach. You can have an omni-channel approach where you're making videos that go straight to Reels on Instagram, which is a meta property. And then you can do an instructional video on how you make, if you make pizza or you make beer, you post that on TikTok, right? You can take a picture of a beautiful, pay for it, beautiful picture on Facebook, do a whole rant about your menu changes and create like trivia events. What I'm saying is those will help get people in the door. But it's once they're in the door, and those new folks that you're talking about, those younger folks who are just gonna dip their noses around and take a sniff of beer and say, well, I've heard about beer, I want to try it, right? Nobody really wants to be fucked up, but I want to mention one thing as an aside from that, and I'll continue to answer the question, but I think people's behaviors have shifted away from beer, but not gone for good, right? So Sundays, they might have a glass of wine, right? Monday, sure, maybe a beer. Tuesday, maybe a THC infused seltzer, right? Wednesday, they might do an RTD. Thursday, cocktail party at 5. And then Friday, they might be back to beer, right? So I think people are still consuming. People will still have something, because what we do and what we excel at, for the most part, is escape. And wherever you line up, right now it's a weird time. So it's good to be in the escape business. But how can we impact and propel that escape? How can we make it more obvious that for this 90 minutes that you're gonna be in my space, and hopefully you spend at least $100, right? You buy a shirt and it takes a beer to go. What can I do to make that the most memorable experience possible? Like I said, a lot of people do trivia. A lot of people do cornholes, karaoke. What are you gonna do that's gonna be that much different? Posting on Facebook is a very partial part of that product.
Can you talk to me?
If the last 120 days is any indication, Facebook is not the place. And if you're paying for ads on Facebook, if you're pushing that digital media thing, you're probably not spending enough to reach enough people. I think you need to 10x your meta spend if you really want to draw somebody in. It works if you're in a D2C program, you've got a good Shopify thing, if you can ship some beers, you've got a good program, you can get some good freights, rates, so you can get beer to people's doors. Other than that, I really have some grave concerns about that. There are other opportunities, between OTT, maybe terrestrial radio, maybe Spotify, Pandora, things people stream. That could be an avenue to reach a younger crowd. Anybody else? Question? Yes.
When you say the graduating class now is 70%, like, it's 70% of the tier or overall?
I think it's overall. Granted, that was a sales guy telling me that statistic. So, and they're coming at me from a chain world fight, where planograms and resets now, because now we're looking at fall resets, and if we didn't make it spring, goddamn, we're probably in a really bad place, right? So this was just a general call. I will say this though, February is a really rough month nationwide for craft beer, but I think it has more to do with what I said about the way the consumption is. So having a maniacal approach to what your product tastes like and what it looks like on the shelf and what your branding will help, as opposed to just, I don't want to say this without implicating anyone, as opposed to maybe just trying something.
What do you mean by maniacal?
I mean, people really, really focused on the quality of everything you're putting out. Like, take it super seriously and don't just say, okay, it'll work. Like, the shit's not gonna totally turn you on. It's definitely gonna be hard to sell. Right? Like I said, we sell escape. We should be selling fun too. Not just elixir. That could work. You know what I mean? We're probably not allowed to call it elixir, but not an apothecary. Yes.
Do you have any strategies for reeling in some employees that maybe had one division in the past, but then after a year or two have kind of just abandoned it, and kind of made
Plateaued.
plateaued, and just kind of went to the side of just doing what they want to do.
When's the last time you?
And don't have their best interest in mind, and don't have employers' best interest in mind.
When's the last time you hung out with them?
Sometimes it's on a daily basis.
Daily basis.
And having meetings, but it's, you get into a social dynamic when you have a lot of people there.
You do have a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
When's the last time you just closed the place and threw a party?
We've done that.
Yeah.
We've done that.
And they're still fucking?
It lasts for a little while. Yeah.
I'm just throwing basics out.
No, those are good suggestions.
Vacation time burned out?
Yeah. Time off, suspension.
That's not gonna bode well. That doesn't bode well.
Say goodbye.
Yeah, maybe. I think if you've done everything I talked about as far as like the interview, the onboard, the work with, the check-in, the nurturing part, then maybe they're not the best fit anymore. You know, you go through phases where, I'm sure you've all been through relationship phases where it kind of has a moment,
Have a life.
but then it can be reignited by random things, little incentives, little acknowledgments. If it doesn't at that point, I think you really need to reassess the relationship. There's no, for me, I'm not in HR. Like I'm a scorched earth approach because there's a lot of people. Not to contradict what I'm talking about, but yeah, maybe. You can only come to Jesus so many times. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you, I play the Brewers Conference every year.
Okay.
So once a year from this conference, every conference, and I have this thing called the Big Meeting. So I was playing the Brewers Conference for all the things that changed in the brewery. So basically what I'm saying, these are things that I've learned that I didn't know happened throughout the years. And these are things that are gonna change. And if there's no way, it's black and white now. This came from this conference. These are the experts. So I just laid it out on the line, like, and this is where I started my brewery, and this is where we are now. Things have changed, and this is the way it is. So I go, I know, it's what I call them. And everybody sits down, they basically shut up for 30 minutes to an hour, and I get to tell them everything that's gonna change, and they don't say anything that would fight it because you're all the experts. So I use it as my scapegoat, basically.
Or you blame
It's
us.
like, instead of like, so the Brewers Conference, these are the facts. So you can fight wherever you want. This is our culture, and this is the way we do things. This is where beer is now. So I do blame you guys for making me successful.
You blame me for making it
That's
successful.
why I blame you guys for making me successful, so I can say, hey, listen, it's not me making this.
Oh,
Okay. This is what's happening in beer, this is what's happening, you know, in beer in New York State. And say, this is why we're changing what you love, because it's different. So like when you know, think about firing an employee there's still stuff in that brewery they loved, you know, whatever, 5 years, 10 years ago. But
Yeah.
things have changed now, you know, they have to change the Taproom. It
does change.
Have to adapt.
When you come back and really get out from this place, it sticks, it really does, it works for me every year, I use it, I call it the big
We'll get
deal.
them together.
I got plenty of nuts.
We
All right.
each other.
One success, it doesn't work all the time, but,
Yeah.
well, for an employee who's kind of plateau or become disinterested or kind of ends up doing the bare minimum, if they're a capital employee, one of the things I can do is, like, find what are they into? Like, what's, you know, what gets them excited?
Yeah.
And have them plan an event or capital, which kind of helps us, because now we're doing something different besides the state of the trivia, and we do all this shit, we all this,
You
right?
got it, right?
But, you know, if they're into Dungeons and Dragons, they do a Dungeons and Dragons, like, there's like, everybody has something that they're, you know, and maybe two people show up, but now they get to plan it, they get to run it, they feel more game, more involved. You know, sometimes you have a really great event, and employee wanted beer floats with a local ice cream company. I'm like, sure, we'll do it. I had to call staff, all their staff in and help to go around the corner for beer and ice cream.
That's fantastic.
But I never would have done those, really, you know, it came from an employee, I'm like, you know, what do you want?
That's a really great note.
See, it doesn't always work. Yeah.
Tapping into your staff.
Understanding that your staff is all different, right? Everyone's got a different need. We have a staff member that I gotta sit down with once every 6 months and just have a heart to heart. You know, yeah, just to, you know, because it does. And then there's other staff members that I never have to talk to the entire time they work for us, other than just walking in the door, hey, how's it going? Good, all right, you know, everybody's different, and everybody needs a different set of attention. So to answer, like your question, there's no one answer to that.
No.
Everybody needs something different. That's a fun idea.
Somebody in the back have something to add or questions? Bring up? Yeah, man.
You mentioned the empathy thing at the beginning.
Yep.
You didn't really, like, I would like to expound upon that and show a little bit more about it.
Thank you. I'm glad you asked. I did have about 10,000 words written about empathy. So I get to go, I have a pretty wonderful life that I get to travel a lot. And I travel a lot with my children, my wife. We lived out of our car for a year before we had kids, by the way. And so we were able to, I've been to every state in the union. I mean, not just for like a minute. I've been there for an extended period of time. I've gone to so many restaurants and spent a fortune on experiencing life. I've been very lucky. I have what I think is a pretty interesting perspective on people. I'm able to listen with intent and understand who they are, and perhaps make judgments that I shouldn't. I think that's natural for anybody. So when I say empathy, and I'm grateful you pointed this out because I probably just fucked it up. I want to sit in the moment with somebody coming in, not only to interview, but to spend money in the place. They chose to come here over anybody else's, right? So I want to understand why. What drew them in? And did I do everything I can in my decisions in making my place easy for that decision, right? So I think of, in this context, how easy it is to navigate my menu. Do I get a scan QR code, or is it obvious in front of my face? How easy it is for me to place an order. Can I get beers? Was the bartender too busy to give me a moment to let me try a couple things, right? That's the empathy I'm referring to in this context. Taking a minute, no matter how busy you are. Okay, here's a perfect example. It's Saturday after Thanksgiving, and 2 years ago, I'm driving from Buffalo, where my wife and our kids, we spent Thanksgiving Day. We're driving back to, I live not far from here, I live about 30 miles. And I'm pretty hungry, I could use a beer. Okay, so it's maybe close to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We're in Auburn, New York. We go to Prison City, and I meet my 83-year-old dad then. And so we walk in with 2 insane fucking toddlers and an 83-year-old guy. And I know it's a shit show, right? They have been put through the ringer because it was a busy holiday service. And they're about to probably go into what's a pretty busy Saturday night. And the other place, their other brewery, had like a holiday fair going on. So the company is moving. I immediately walk in and think, I want to leave. It's too busy. And I'm just going to be an annoyance. And this whole shit show is going to be a pretty significant annoyance. So I'm worried about it. So we are immediately greeted and treated like humans, and we're given a nice, comfortable place to sit. And very quickly, we're served water, and then beer orders come, and that's cool, and the kids get like crayons and shit. And then, as the kids get slightly unruly, the server comes back and opens her apron and gives stickers to my kids. They get to choose any sticker they want. And that to me was like, that's someone who gets it. Whether they've been in my shoes or not, they're completely in control of our destiny in this taproom right now. And we felt at ease. Is anyone in Prison City here? I'm not really trying to blow smoke, but I don't want to freak anybody out. Okay, great. This happened at your place. So that particular hire, was a really good hire in my opinion, because they kept checking in, kept checking on the kids, even though the food was maybe taking a minute because they were resetting for a dinner service. And I'm aware of that. I've been doing this since I was 16, 17 years old. So that's almost 30 years now. And I'm always sensitive to that. But we had a great time. We bought way too much beer because of it, because of those kind moments, because that person looked at our situation as being like, it's post-holiday, people trying to get fed, have a couple beers, move on. And they did a great job. That's the empathy I'm talking about. You can impart that to your people, where it makes sense. it's really gonna make a whole lot of sense, because that was like, you know, I'd probably spent over $200. It is expensive to go out, by the way. No, that's not a complaint on for the city though. That's, Jesus Christ, it went up for like St. Patrick's Day, at like 7 beers. It was fucking bullshit. But we had a good time, you know, and it makes sense. So that's the empathy. Take a moment. Hopefully that person was trained enough to know that maybe it wasn't the full brand experience, the ideal brand experience in that heat of battle, right? Because you can never really control that, even though the command intent was in place. They did a great job, and I'm still talking about it. That, by the way, that experience has happened repeatedly at other bar tap rooms around the nation. Not all the time, though, which brings me to the point that it is necessary to bring up and talk about. Like, I was at a Great American Beer Fest. Went out to a couple places, and it was a real nightmare. It was terrible. And I'm like, wow, we're at GVF, and you suck. Like, how good your product is to you. That you're blowing it. Because now I'm not gonna mention any names, but like, man, I was really bummed out. That hopefully makes sense to you. Any other questions? Anyone want a beer? I'm happy to talk to anybody at any point with anything. You can easily reach me. I'm always around, and I love what you do. And I've been to your place. I've been to your place 100 times. Yours? Well, not enough. Yeah. But anyway. Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Good luck.